Hi, it's Mark Postles here. I wanted to talk to you a little bit around events and how they relate to the practice. So when it comes to growth of their practice, many chiropractors make this mistake that they're going too private. So if one chiropractor and one front desk CA are the only people in your practice that the members interact with while they visit, there's a limited engagement other than the practice member's specific reason for being there, which is usually to fix a certain problem. So as people are social beings, being shut in a room one-on-one with a chiropractor is a recipe for playing small. I remind myself often of the statement that alone we go fast, but together we go further. So practice is a long game. We want to go a long way with this one. So I was speaking with a group of our clients in one of our regular weekly coaching calls, and Brett made the following comment. He said, look, many chiropractic practices don't grow because they don't employ their greatest assistants. And I said, well, who are the greatest assistants? And he said, our practice members. Brett said, I used to have my practice members in solitary confinement. They barely interacted with anyone else and when they visited. So when I opened the practice up and created events out of daily and special activities that Quest recommends, the practice has boomed and it's so much more fun for everyone. So let's face it, solitary confinement is the worst punishment a human can have. The more people interacting together, the more they grow and develop as individuals. So look, there's three kinds of practices. One-on-one practices that has limits. It's like, that's just been stated. One-on group, which is growing, and then event-driven practices. Now, event-driven practices don't have to be the same metrics as Taylor Swift and 96,000 people in the Melbourne Cricket Ground. It can be at a much, much lower level than that, but the same sort of principles apply. So let's just have a look at those. So this is a model we use a lot in Quest. It's a brain model. It's based on the right and the left sides of the brain, and obviously the front and the back of the brain. And because, as you know, we have different functions within each of those areas. So we have a practice that runs similarly. That there are certain functions within the practice that relate to certain parts of the brain. So we like to, within a chiropractic context, then bring this into management, bring this into business, and in this case, bring it into the principles of a really successful business. Say, for example, one Taylor Swift. So firstly, we have in our quadrant 1, which is our forebrain and our future orientation, we say, okay, where are we going and how are we going to get there? So this revolves a lot around stories, and you'll notice that if you have at least seen this lady and doing her thing, she tells lots of stories, lots of metaphors, lots of analogies, and of course, as an actress as well as a singer-songwriter, she is really good on expression. So there's no difference within a chiropractic practice. If we allow ourselves to express, we look for an audience, and an audience comes around us as well. And then we allow others to express, and the audience is magnified again. So, and then the way to get people to understand things is through stories and through metaphors. So, real key things that she has nailed super, super well. Now, the quadrant 2 part is the quality production, and it just smacks of quality. In terms of having something to say about this, I haven't been to one of her concerts, but I've certainly watched a couple, and it is amazing. So the production is just on point. Change times can be measured in seconds, and set changes happen before your eyes without you even realizing it. So there's a huge amount of quality that goes into that production. Just imagine if your practice was like that. There's a quality production happening at all times. Everyone is on show. We're there, the show is on, and we're doing our thing, and it sends out such a vibe that people want to be part of that. So the other aspect of this in terms of organisation is their strategic tour planning, and honestly, the way that she goes about this is quite phenomenal, because it's all parts of the world, and she makes sure that she has the appropriate show for that part of the world, and the appropriate analogies, the appropriate expressions, maybe the appropriate considerations of her target market at the same time that she will bring up, and that then leads into the fans. So the fans are adoring fans. They buy everything she puts out there. They listen on every word, and there's a fan movement there that is huge. And in chiropractic practice, we have that. There's your loyal fans who would take you or go with you to the end of the earth just to be in your company. And this is a skill that we can create. It's not just random. These things happen by design. So along with that, obviously, is the talent. So the talent of delivery is something that she's been imbued with. I mean, she's worked hard at it. She spent a lot of time just trying to get the first gig and finally got her break, and she's done a lot with it. So that was certainly an internal thing that she managed to do in her own skill base. And then the fourth area, which is the quadrant 4 part, which is in your practice, it's your expansion, and it's looking at, and you'll notice that she has lots of brand partnerships. So brand partnerships are with organizations, companies that have interest in her product, and I mean it's massive. I mean the recent show in Melbourne was 96,000 people in the Melbourne Cricket Ground, and I saw that there was some 90,000 people that came across from New Zealand. So Air New Zealand had to put a whole bunch of planes on in order to create to get those Kiwis across to watch the Sydney and the Melbourne shows. I think there's about probably 4 or 5 of them. So that's a brand partnership, and then there's the continuous evolution. And not that I've watched her evolution to the T, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of young females, particularly in the audience, who have known every single step of her way. But the evolution is the reinvention that takes place in expand. And in our practice, we can't sit still. We are constantly evolving. We're constantly redesigning ourselves, redesigning our offering, and making sure that we're in keeping with what our fans want. So these are the elements. I think that there's such strong and well-founded business elements which you can use in your practice as of today. So let's have a look at the events then. So the events in your practice could go something like this: that you could have an adjusting area that has a community feel to it. So that would mean that there's an open style of the adjusting area, because that then allows people to interact with each other, to see what's going on, to be part of it, to be educated through the engagement that others are having at any point in time as they get adjusted. The layout is critical with this one. Physical layout, the flow, the traffic flow, the reception layout, how people are seated within a reception area, and what attention the CAs pay to the people who are there in various capacities as they arrive, as they wait, as they get their care, as they have some post-care support maybe, and then as they leave. So there's a whole sequence of things here that could be events. Then of course rituals, like for example, the statement of purpose at the end of every team meeting, recited and acted out, to integrate the kinesthetic with the audio and the visual. And it is so powerful for your team members. So look at the bonding that can take place just by a ritual such as that. And then there could be significant things like gear, like t-shirts and hats and cups and whatever, or tokens to photo on holidays. That take the gnome with you and take a photo on the top of the Eiffel Tower, whatever the case may be. Or your calendar, that having at least a couple of major events, say Christmas and a charity day, or Christmas in July or something, and maybe 4 minor talks outside, and WhatsApp birthdays, just so the whole team can be brought up to date with whose birthday it is. Advanced health classes, making sure that those are working properly and that everyone's on board with if they're ascending to higher levels of care within the practice, then that advanced health class is a really useful thing to do. Then maybe movie nights, maybe celebrations of the practice's longevity, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, etc. Fun runs, football, netball teams. Chiro's Incognito is a thing we did with a bunch of other local chiros, about 6 offices, and put 200 people in the local hall, and we all did little skits. But it wasn't it wasn't just the chiros and their CAs. It was the practice members that they seconded into doing these things. All their families came along. So it was an amazing experience. It took quite a bit of organising, but it was an amazing experience. So those are the sorts of things that we can do as events. So consider how you can utilise the principles of Taylor Swift's success in practice. How can you move your practice to a practice that's an event in itself and has plenty of events through the year? So the result's going to be that your practice members will feel more engaged, enrolled in the practice and what you stand for. So next time you look at your practice's design, ensure that it has events built into it. So if you want to grow your practice, maybe not to 96,000 a day, but to serve more and receive more, maybe not the 1 billion that Taylor has just attained, but grab a clarity call with us and we'll go through the opportunities for your practice growth through events.